today they expected to be busy all day with going over the recall petitions. They're going to have another meeting to go over the 3 Democratic petitions, and then they didn't have any other meetings scheduled before the July 12th recall. I think that's a disturbing sort of thing that they're not having any more meetings, and so one of my requests is that they have additional meetings prior to July 12th. And what's so important? Well, the July 12th recall elections are huge. They're going to be the biggest state-oriented elections in the whole nation ever, I think, because this is the ground zero. This is the watershed. Is the corporate agenda going to take over here? The heart and soul of progressive politics? If they win here, it's done all over the nation. If the recalls are successful and we push back, more people will be, they'll rise up because of this. They'll be gladdened by our success, and they think they can succeed also then. So very, very important. So the bottom line is these large corporations that are funding Heritage Cato, the ALEC group, they're going to be putting hundreds of millions of dollars in here. We're not going to see most of that money. It's going to be hidden, but there's going to be a lot of money under the table. There's going to be a lot of disruption at polling places. There's going to be a lot of attorneys in here challenging all kinds of things, especially with the implementation of this new voter suppression bill. So we can expect those things, so we've got to be out there. I hope the unions, we haven't seen, Jeremy's indicated, we really haven't seen much from the unions recently. I hope they're out there training their people to go door to door the last few weeks of the campaign. I hope they're going to have poll observers and exit polling, so we know what the count should be. We know which ones we're short on and we need to look closer at. So we're asking the GAB to have some more meetings, and I'm asking for us to be able to make presentations to the board as to what we learned from the recount. I've also asked them to give guidance to election officials and to amend their website. Right now their website has a portion on authenticity of votes. That section doesn't even acknowledge the fact that there could be an error in the vote scanning machines. It doesn't even contemplate that there is ever going to be a malfunction or any misfeasance on those things. It's assuming those vote totals are correct, which is outrageous. And so basically on what I put on this, say not allowing for malfunction or misfeasance in an optical scanning device appears to be evidence of malfunction or misfeasance in the general government accountability board. So you wake them up. But I've put in some of these wording that they could use that makes it clear what exactly they are saying. The other portion of that is the guidance to the election officials. I have 8 points that I've suggested to them. Allow post-election tests. Right now, people are, hello? Hi there. GAB member? Hey. There we go. Thank you, sir.
How do we know there's no fraud?
Please look at the materials that we
Tell me what election fraud looks like. Tell me what election fraud looks like.
This is what election fraud looks like.
Tell me what election fraud looks like.
This is what election fraud looks like.
Tell me what election fraud looks like.
This is what election fraud looks like.
Okay, we know there aren't tunnels for everyone. Okay, elaborate tests are done before the voting. Those tests only really tell you that at that point in time, for that few votes, that machine is accurate. It cannot possibly tell you whether that machine has been hacked, whether the votes are going to be flipped. The only way to do that is to do a post-election test. So we're asking the GAB to allow clerks and poll workers to do post-election tests. Well, what's a post-election test? Hand count the votes and compare it to the total on the machine. Yeah. Then we'll know if there was an attempt. I asked the staff here if that would be possible, if clerks wanted to do that, and they told me that they would advise clerks not to allow a hand count of the vote.
Why?
What?
Why?
Because their view is that hand counting the votes, since they've already gone through the machine and been counted, And of course, the count from the machines is accurate, which we know there could be malfunctions. Their position is that hand counting the votes after they've been run through the machine is a recount.
Hand count! 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 All the votes! Count all the votes! Count all the votes! Count all the votes! Hand count! Hand count! Hand count! Hand count! Hand count!
So counting the votes is actually their viewpoint, recounting the votes, and that's not permitted unless a candidate asks for it. It's kind of, I don't know. They're retired judges. They were all nonpartisan. Who knows, though?
Yeah, right. They're appointed by
nonpartisan like the process is nonpartisan.
Confirmed by party.
Yeah. Number two, I asked the GAB to inform all clerks how to properly seal the bags. Clap them. We found this kind of a situation in Waukesha County.
Here's your ballot.
They had ballots. It was worse in Waukesha. Waukesha had ballots that were 6 5/8 inches wide, and the gaps are 8 inches. So none of those bags that were pinched only in the middle were sealed. The vast majority of the bags in Waukesha County were not adequately sealed. This is a violation of election law. Somebody has to enforce it. The GAB is supposed to be
And
enforcing
then we were there
it.
watching the recount, and they're counting all the forged ballots.
Yes.
It was hilarious. I mean, just...
We're asking to also, as the polls close, so there's aren't any more of these, oh, we lost the ballots and they got mixed in with the unvoted ones. The first thing you do when you close the polls is gather up all the unused ballots and run a hand drill bit through them. Those ballots cannot be used to fix the other ones. Okay? So everybody's straight on this. The way you steal an election when everything's on paper, you flip the totals on the machines, and then you access the ballots through the open bags and replace the ballots with the ones you want. And it's the way that gets done, and it's been done in different places in the nation. So my request to the GAB was to drill, Gabby, drill, and hope they take that message.
Drill, Gabby, drill! 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 Drill, Gabby, drill!
Unvoted ones then also should be put into a bag and sealed, and they should be held by the clerk who's not holding the ballots. And additionally, the GAB should receive copies of all invoices for ballots. So on those invoices should be how many ballots there are. So after the election, someone can say, we've got this many unused ones, this many used ones. Does it tie out, or are we missing several thousand? If we're missing several thousand, where did they go? Asking the GAB to require that all telephone cords to the motives on these machines be disconnected during the election day and not be plugged in until the count has been confirmed. Because these machines, now the other thing is some of the machines have wireless modems, so we can't tell, but at least the wired ones, unplug them. There's no need to have the machine plugged in until the votes are over. You plug it in and that sends your vote totals in. We don't need people monitoring these things as to how the vote total is shifting during the day. How many people have voted and who they're voting for. That only allows them to figure out how many votes they need to shift. Need to inform the clerks that the pre-voting public test done is only verifies the machine was working properly at that time. Let them know that on election day, undetectable malicious codes could kick in and flip votes. The clerks need to know this. They need to know that we're not holding them responsible for what's going on here unless they're not paying attention. If there's vote flippings going on, it's without the knowledge of the vast majority of our poll workers and clerks. There's only a few people involved. And number 8 point was, between the time when they're closed up, they pull the ballots out of the machine and they're ready to bag them up, allow public records requests of people who are interested in seeing those ballots. And the way it can be handled is just like the recount. They can have the pile of ballots